sometimes we want to judge a book by its cover because that's what humans do. We just instinctively have, at a subconscious level, many times a prejudice where we think of something about someone based on how they look, based on like one interaction, etc. Now, this isn't to, negate anything that you may have picked up on about somebody based on your intuition, but this is more so like a reminder of why sometimes humility is a superpower. And I say that because when you take a step back and practice a pause of like, is this kind, is this true, and is this helpful, and you practice that pause and you ask yourself those questions, you can come to understand in an understanding at a deeper level. And I think that we're in a moment right now in history where we need to understand things at a deeper level now than we were used to. Perhaps we were used to understanding things at a surface level, which, for the most part, those who don't want to get too deep at once, especially with strangers, it's like, okay, I get that, I understand, like, especially if you're introverted and you don't just want to open up to just anybody and you just don't just get right into it. But I do believe that it is important for us to remember where we were at some point in our lives, where we were at in our paths, okay? And if you can become aware of that, if you can become aware of where you were and not judge somebody by its cover, like not just by their cover, not its by their cover, if you are able and capable of not judging somebody by their cover, then you're capable of bringing understanding to a situation that may otherwise not have. And the beauty on that is that as humans, it's not to say that you're going to be perfect all the time or that that's going to be feasible every single time. It's more to say that it's sometimes necessary for us to realize how we are all going through this together, and that at this point in history there's a pivot there's a pivot in our human collective. There's a pivot that we are being asked to make, and this pivot includes stepping outside our comfort zone of who we are. It includes looking at every single moment where we choose ego, or we choose prejudice, or we choose judgment, or we choose hate, or we choose fear over choosing love, over choosing understanding, acceptance, compassion. And it's not to say that you have to choose those every single time, but it's more so taking a moment to dig a little deeper why we choose those things, where they're coming from, and to understand ourselves a little deeper, because in understanding ourselves a little deeper, we can understand others more. And in understanding others more, we are able to have that connection a little stronger with ourselves and each other. And in doing that, we create a foundation for our collective, for all of us as a human collective in this civilization that we are in now, in this earth, in this world, that will help us in this pivot, in this shift, because we are seeing now more than ever before in our current, like, as far as our current incarnation, we're seeing in our current history how important it is for us to stick together, how important it is for us to perhaps take a pause and choose differently, because I know this is cliche, but divided we will fall and united we will stand. Even if it seems like the odds are against us, even if we see in the world how little power it may seem that we have, when we unite, we create more power, because the more we get together, the more we put our differences aside to unite for a cause, especially that cause being the right for human beings to live, and to live well, not just survive, but to live well, and to fight for the right for humans to all be seen as humans and not seen for anything other than that they have a beating heart just like you and just like me. Uh, the more we fight for that, the greater chances for our civilizations as a human species to survive. And I mean that in the sense of like, we can head in different directions, and history has repeated many times, and there's been many civilizations, not just in one area but in the whole entire world. And from my understanding, as someone that's connected to their higher selves and who has memories of other civilizations, of other worlds, in other universes where there has been falls of civilization due to such a separation within us as a collective. And that can definitely come to be, but it can also pivot a different way. We live in a reality, and in a reality that you cannot see either, where many of you may think this is just like make believe, the multiverse or different timelines. We live in a space where that's very much possible. Now, I know that there's going to be the controversial perception of those who believe in God, and I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, and that controversial belief of like, well, if you believe in Jesus, if you believe in God, then you can believe in that. But this is from my personal journey, and this is from my personal experience and my own personal journey with God, okay, and with Jesus by my side. And I say that with wholehearted conviction. And that's me, that's my story, that's my journey. And I don't need you, or I don't need anyone else to believe me to know this is true. And yet I still believe that that's a reality that can happen for us, where we can pivot and shift and we come together. And I think that was part of what God was and is still till this day trying to teach us. But we forget. And we forget. But many of us remember too, though. And that's also part of my point, is that many of us remember what it means to come together, what it means to have to stick together, because that will be either the death or the life for us, okay? And at a personal level, for each and every single one of us, that may mean that you may be surprised by somebody from your past, or somebody whom you are giving up hope with, for, and you might be like positively surprised by their ability to change, by their ability to approach you in a different manner. And if you are capable of change and realizing where you were 5 or 10 years ago and where you are now, especially in your perception, even if your actions weren't the best then, realizing that that could be possible for you and others. And it's not to say that every single person is going to change or is capable of change. And that's another part of the message, is that if someone is unwilling to change, or someone cannot change, and you've tried to be there, not giving up on them, it's not on you to change someone. Either it is up to us to accept when someone cannot change, or be accountable for ourselves and move forward and away from that person or that energy if it really is detrimental to us and we really cannot, adjust ourselves to that person. If you can't leave that energy or their side, then boundaries are your best friend. And I say that wholeheartedly from experience. Your boundaries are where you end and another person begins, is knowing and differentiating the line, okay, but still understanding that you are connected, meaning that don't be so quick to just like sign someone off simply because you feel like they're not changing fast enough for you. But like I said, that's your personal journey, that's their personal journey. You may do as you want, and you may do, that's the whole point, is that you get to choose just as they get to choose. And in understanding those differences that we all have, it may be something that helps us in the long run, at an individual level, and therefore as a collective. Anyways, I gotta go, but I hope this message falls onto the hands of those that need it and then to hear it. Love you guys. Bye.